fancy intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today I want to cover something that I actually never ended up making a video about 7 months ago, and that's Xindi Armadas. Now, Xindi Armadas have been something that a lot of you just simply don't like, not because the Armadas don't have good rewards, they do, but more the mechanic of sourcing these, which is quite painful. In fact, let's just go ahead and put it on the top of the screen. I'm gonna be editing in a lot of pictures in this video, so number one behind me is this one. This is going over the basics of how this loop works in terms of the loot that you need to get and how often you can pull, and it's annoying. So for example, right here, you see the needed to start. We need 1,000 uncommon. The only annoying thing is that one has like a 7-day cooldown. It's pretty obnoxious. I'll show you in my window itself, but here's everything that you need to do in terms of the loot that you need to do, the cooldowns, and you see it's a 3-day cooldown. But the basics, you can start this mechanic at level 48 and above, and that's where it's really meant to be started. You can do a lot of different things, but mainly what I want to cover are how to do it, because there's 2 methods to really approach doing these, and no, well, technically 3, but also the rewards that you can get, and go over that as well. And in fact, in this video, I'm actually going to do a poll so that you can see for yourself. In fact, why not just go ahead and do that now? So I did talk about the cooldown, which is a pain point. In fact, it's one of the main things that we talk about being a negative with Xindi Armadas. It takes forever to actually get the directives needed to run here, but the rewards are in fact quite good. It's just you don't get to use them very often, which is quite annoying. And to really take advantage of these chests, you often have to punch quite high up, depending on what level you are. So these are all the potential rewards for me at level 53. And I'm gonna go ahead and collect this chest. Yay, there we go. So I got 3 Jonathan Archer, 11 Trip Tucker, Sompek, Piety. I mean, those are nice. More importantly for me, I'm wanting anything rare ship part wise, which did not give me the ship that I need, which is battleship parts. But anyway, as you can see, most of you would call these pretty good rewards, especially with them also giving other types of Armada rewards. Just how often can you actually do this? Oh, and then a cute little Sanctus BP there at the very end. And then obviously you're gonna like the artifact shard. So that's what you actually get from doing the pulls. To actually obtain the directives, again, let's hop back into our faction menu, and you have to click on the X Borg here, and you're going to find your Xindi directives. And again, like I said, there's a 7-day cooldown. I just pulled mine today. So you want to find a way to be as effective as possible, as you want to get the most loot possible, which brings me to my personal method that I use the most, and that is the G6 or G5 carry method. So let me go ahead and give a shout out to Nightmare, who's the main person who does that over in Epic, but there are a lot of players who do that. The premise behind it is getting a player with a high G5 or very strong G5 ship, or even a weak G6 ship, to come in and carry the Armada. And when we say carry the Armada, we mean quite literally carry. The whole point of this is for them to do all the damage, them to do all of the legwork, and you get to benefit from getting the box. So you get starter boxes as you would run through. And now let me actually just go ahead and claim these different ones, because I've done a lot of these today with the group. So I'm gonna claim my PvE chest. Inside are gonna be the Xindi boxes from all that as well. And you're gonna see just a lot of the goodies coming through as I collect through all these boxes. Hey, Scopely, let me collect more than 100 at a time. It used to only be 50 at a time. But anyway, you see there's more of that refined chemosite. And then this last 13 should probably have some more refined chemosite. Oh, I'm sorry, just some active nanochips. So you saw the refined chemosite I got, and that's going to let me do my pulls. How many pulls is it going to let me do? Going back to this screen, as you can see, the amount that you need to pull can be quite high. Again, we're just trying to have all the screens available here at any given time. But for me to do a full pull, I need 3.5, right? And that what I mean? No, I need 2.4 million. It's right there. I need 2.4 million for me, so I just got 10 full pulls worth from doing those runs. That's not too bad, but that's using this punch-up method where I'm going after the biggest one available that I clearly cannot beat with any of my ships. The only ship that can reach this is the NX-01. My Voyager can't reach it yet. Obviously, my G5 faction ship can't reach here. So I'm going after the biggest and the tallest and having a big player carry. Now, what's the benefit to the big player, you might ask? Well, that's actually quite simple. You're going to get to, if you start these, you're going to get the big loot from the starter chest, and they're going to get all the other loot. Because if you didn't remember, if you didn't know, loot is distributed by ship power in an Armada. here's that calculator. If you're ever curious, we have a couple of these calculators. Yes, it's in the Discord. If you need help finding it, I'm more than happy to help you, or one of the volunteers is. But this is a set of calculators for just various armada types. But the basics of it is ship loot, or the ship power, affects the loot distributed in an armada. So if you're in an armada with, say, a person brought a 10 billion powered ship and everybody else is 100 million, well, that 10 billion power ship is going to get almost all of the loot. That's okay, because in this method, you're more relying on the big ship to win. That way you get the big box. Now, this is not the only method to do this. This is simply the method that I use the most, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the most lucrative method. So what do I mean by it might not be the most lucrative method? Let me show you a screenshot like this one. So this is an example of a high ship soloing a Xindi Armada. And this is the 60, getting soloed by a retard. It doesn't have to be a retard. In fact, it's possible to do with other things. Here's a Sanctus doing a 56. And if you're calculating how much you actually get, this can be more profitable than going after this with the G6/G5 carry method, which is what I do. But here's the thing that I found. If you launch Xindi Armadas, typically everybody in your alliance goes, I want in on that, and they don't want to miss out. Understandable. So you generally are going to have a group setting anyway. If that doesn't apply to you and you can just go run your solos, that's completely fine. We'll go over the strategies and everything needed to do the solos here in just a second if you want to just one-man these, because it can lead to you getting more loot, because you'll get the starter chest and all the loot available, which, for example, a 60 that's right behind me is 12 something million loot. 12.7 for this one, RNG, variables, etc. So if you want to get all of that, you could solo this. You just need to be able to beat it. And most G5 players who are up in the upper end of G5 can. So if you're looking at it method-wise, the method that I always go to the first way is having your group come in and having a higher level player carry you, whether it be the uncommon or the rare. You see, we did a rare earlier today where I just participated, and as you can see, I got a very small amount of loot, again, because it's distributed by ship power, and I'm the smallest ship in this run. But again, this can help you get your group running and finish out the big one. But let's go over more of the details of why this matters, or how we can take advantage of it, especially if you are a lower level group. So here's a group of G4 players and a G5 runner, or two G5 players running and going after a 53. So you have a Voyager that's getting there in the warp range, and then the Northcut and the Corvus are carrying a smaller one. And we can actually go a little bit deeper than this. I actually do want to go a little bit deeper. How about some crewing? Here is a level 53, again, with only, I'm actually impressed with this. I love seeing stuff like this. Only G4 players, so that you're taking it on, and you can see the crewing ideas. You definitely want to make sure you're stacking things like Belana Torres below decks. You want to have Neelix below decks, Tom Paris for mitigation. Using loot officers like Dejas Tol Ra is something that I do on the NX-01 to try to get as much loot as possible as you're doing each one of these. Because remember, as you saw in my uncommons, I needed 2.4 million uncommon to do that full pull every time it comes around. Well, if I was just participating with my NX-01, I'm getting about 500,000 loot, depending on who all is there and what ships get brought. So here are some just basic ideas of crewing. So you can see G4 players. If we're talking about just, hey, everybody's level 48 to 50, maybe you're on an OpsLock server, you can participate in this mechanic using proper officers. And there's more than officers that can kind of pay into that. There's artifacts, and obviously we have FTs now and chaos techs. A lot has gotten added in since Xindi Armadas actually came out, making it, I think, a more viable strategy for a lot of players. But as you can see here, quite doable. Your basic Armada logic applies. I mean, your standard Armada officers, whether it be Dejas Tol Ra or Miles O'Brien, is absolutely huge here. Some warnings and potential pitfalls of how this can end up hurting you is big go-home gun for the Xindi Armada. It will punch you straight in the mouth, just like it did in Star Trek Enterprise when it destroyed Florida. But as you're going through here and you're trying to design this for you and your group, then you're going to just need to know, I guess, the basics of Armada crewing. You don't need anything crazy. You don't have to specifically use the NX-01 crew or anything. You can manage this with standard G4 ships and crews and get up above the basic levels. Last but not least, how about we cover where these are actually at and take a look at one more log. I think logs are good. So here's another log. This is from Magoo. I just wanted to let y'all see some examples of this from Spock's Club of an Enterprise D taking down a 60 So again, an upper G5, most of those upper G5s should be able to, quote unquote, easily handle this. Bringing in burning, there's a reason for that. We can cover that Xindi Armada abilities here in just a second. But overall, you can see, should be something that most of your G5 players in the upper G5 can manage. And if you actually take a look at the Xindi Armadas right here, you can scan those bad boys and check their abilities. So at the end of the round, the Xindi weapon increases its weapon damage by 30%. If it is burning, there's a chance to prevent this. Hence, wanting to bring the burning with something like Neelix or Nero or Giorgio, however you want to attack these with. And then every 8th round, that big weapon I was talking about, the Xindi weapon fires a super weapon dealing lethal damage. If it is assimilated, there's a chance to prevent this. For any of those who are curious, well, why did I see certain officers in that menu there that I'm not used to seeing, like Dazok? Well, there you go. If you can cause assimilate, you can then make these easier to destroy, or better yet, they just lowers their overall DPR that they can create. So as a player, here are your 3 basic methods. Number 1, the G5/G6 carry method, which is allowing you to go up to the very big ones and take them down. Again, that's what I typically do the most of. And we'll do this maybe every couple of weeks. It's not a super common phenomenon, but it does happen. Shout out again to any of the high levels who are willing to help out their alliance like that. I know that is not a universal experience, so I definitely want to thank the ones that do it in my group. People like Nightmare, big thank you, Gami, DOS, etc. No matter what alliance you're in, whether I was in IA, Epic, whoever you're in, Chaos, it's nice to have those higher levels to help out the lower levels. Method number 2 is a solo it. And again, that can be the more difficult method, but if you're in a group that doesn't do a lot of this, or maybe you're one of the only high levels in that group, can allow you to get the maximum amount of loot by soloing. And then last but not least, the group method, which again, I'm going to lean towards as my personal favorite method. I always think it's best to share it amongst your alliance and help people learn these new mechanics. The biggest negative of this entire mechanic is still the fact that it takes forever because you simply cannot access the loot. It's so annoying to have these ridiculous cooldowns. Oh, and the rares, it's just going to take you a long time to get them by redeeming the uncommon Xindi chest. However, the rewards inside can be lucrative, as you can see at the very top with the uncommons. You see you're getting ship parts, you're getting materials, and it quickly flips to 5-star, which can be very beneficial for those players level 55 and above, trying to, garner some of those. And then obviously you got the rares here, and there are even better rewards and special bundles if you get up into the G6 area of things. But that's the basics of Xindi Armadas. You don't have to have anything too crazy. Simply understand how the Armadas work. And there are 3 different methods to go about it in terms of garnering the loot. I am partial to the G5, G6 carry method. However, if you have another idea or your group does it a little bit differently, I certainly want to hear about it. Drop it down in the comment section below. If you need any of these graphics or any of the loot calculators or any of the logs, more than happy to provide those to you. And thank you to those, because I did send out a ping earlier today as I was making this video so I could have things to edit in. Shout out to those who contribute to the channel. Live long and plunder. Stay safe with the Space Cowboys. Deuce, that's me. Catch you on the next Star Trek Fleet Command video, which will be every single day. It never stops.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.